If we didn't have a green belt about Norwich, we think there'll be a lot more development on the land. Norwich will sprawl outwards. So what the National Planning Policy Framework, it sets out those 5 things, which all sound marvellous, but it doesn't talk about other things. It talks about stopping encroachment into the countryside, but it doesn't say, well, why would you want to do that? So, for instance, you might want to protect the flora and fauna that exists outside all the various county wildlife sites we have, for instance.
If we're to take an analogy with the human body, it's like saying we protect the heart and we protect the lungs, but we can poison the rest of the body because it doesn't really matter about the other processes. So, with rights of nature, we protect the integrity of the whole and make sure that it's functioning in a healthy way.
Well, I think the important thing about a green belt is it's not necessarily about the ultimate quality of the land. If you look around Norwich, there's a lot of countryside that's actually farmland. But if you then look maybe at the river valleys, the chalk rivers, the marshlands, then suddenly you see very rich wildlife habitats. And I think a green belt can cover both. Now, of course, there is clearly wasteland. Now, some wasteland is actually very rich in flora, fauna and diversity, so it actually plays quite an important role. And in fact, whilst we would say we want to see previously developed land, industrial, ex-industrial land developed, sometimes there are some pretty important habitats have grown up in those spaces as well. If you look around Norwich, and the ex-power station site, the utilities site, and the deal ground on the other side of the river, which are both brownfield sites, they will have some important habitats. In terms of nature, are they now more important than perhaps a field nearby? Now, I'm not saying a field is less important because it does other things like growing food. The rights of nature thing, as you describe it, I think is very interesting. I think there's definitely possibilities to work there with the green belt. What really is important to protect in terms of nature, most people will quite rightly say, there's a bucolic little idyllic woodlands with a pond and a field, so that must be what we have to protect. Whereas perhaps that old warehouse with scrubland all over it is now more important. I don't know the answer to that.